When the full might of England's navy sailed to her shores, she didn't just fight back, she fought back with fire. This is the story of the last Viking queen, a woman who looked an empire in the eye and refused to blink. Her name was Grace O'Malley, or Grey Knee Male in her native Irish, born around 1530 on the wild, windswept coast of Western Ireland. This wasn't just any part of Ireland, this was Connacht, a land that still remembered the old ways, a place where chieftains ruled, and the sea was a way of life. Grace was born into the O'Malley clan, legendary seafarers whose motto was Teramric. Potens are powerful by land and sea, and from the very beginning, Grace embodied that spirit. Legend says that as a young girl, she desperately wanted to join her father on a trading expedition to Spain. He refused, telling her that her long hair would get caught in the ship's ropes. What did she do? She chopped it all off, earning her the lifelong nickname Grain Moll, or Bald Grace. Whether true or not, the story tells you everything you need to know about her spirit: determined, defiant, and unwilling to let anyone, not even her own father, tell her what a woman could or couldn't do. She learned to sail not in a calm harbor, but on the treacherous waters of the Atlantic. She learned to read the winds, the tides, and the hearts of men. When her father died, leadership of the O'Malley fleet naturally fell to her. This wasn't a ceremonial title. She commanded hundreds of men and a fleet of galleys, becoming the undisputed pirate queen of Connacht. But let's be clear, pirate is a word often written by the victors. To the English, she was a menace, a pirate disrupting their trade. To the Irish clans, she was a protector, a shrewd leader, and a vital part of their economy. Her ships weren't just raiding, they were trading, and forcing taxes on any vessel that dared to pass through her waters without paying tribute. She controlled the coastline from County Mayo down to Galway Bay. If you wanted to fish, trade, or travel along the west coast of Ireland, you paid Grace O'Malley. Her personal life was just as strategic as her naval campaigns. Her first marriage to Donal and Chagade, Donal of the Battle, secured her a powerful fortress. After he was ambushed and killed by a rival clan, Grace didn't mourn in black. She rallied her men, retook the castle, and proved she was a force to be reckoned with on her own. Her second marriage was even more audacious. She married Richard Danurain, or Iron Richard Burke, for purely political reasons. The deal was a trial marriage for 1 year. At the end of that year, she famously locked him out of his own castle, Rockfeet, and declared, "Richard Burke, I dismiss you." She kept the castle. Of course, it became her primary stronghold, a formidable fortress right on the water, perfectly positioned to command the seas. But while Grace was building her maritime empire, another queen was consolidating hers across the water, Queen Elizabeth I of England. The Tudor conquest of Ireland was gaining momentum, pushing westward, intent on bringing the wild Irish under English law and control. The English saw the Gaelic chieftains not as royalty, but as rebels. And Grace O'Malley was the most notorious rebel of them all. The new English governor of Connacht, Sir Richard Bingham, was a ruthless and ambitious man. He saw Grace as the primary obstacle to English domination. He hunted her, captured her allies, and squeezed her territories. He believed he could break her. He was wrong. The conflict escalated. Bingham captured Grace's sons, Tiboid and Murchad, and her half-brother, Donal na Piopa. He confiscated her lands and her fleet. For any other leader, this would have been the end. But Grace O'Malley was not just any leader. Pushed into a corner, with everything she had built on the verge of collapse, she did the unthinkable. In 1593, she decided that if the governor wouldn't listen to her, she would go over his head. She would go directly to the top. She would sail to London and demand an audience with the most powerful woman in the world, Queen Elizabeth I. Imagine the sheer audacity. A 63-year-old Irish pirate queen, a wanted woman, sailing into the heart of the empire that sought to destroy her, to negotiate face-to-face with the monarch herself. The climax of her story is not a sea battle, but a meeting of minds. Grace arrived at Greenwich Palace not as a pardoned criminal, but as a fellow sovereign. She refused to bow, explaining that she herself was a queen in her own land and did not recognize Elizabeth as the Queen of Ireland. The two women, both rulers in a world dominated by men, both childless. Both having sacrificed personal lives for power, met as equals. Critically, they didn't speak the same language. Elizabeth spoke English, Grace spoke Irish Gaelic. So they conversed in Latin, the international language of diplomacy and education. Proving Grace was no uneducated barbarian, she presented her case with logic and passion. She wasn't a rebel, she argued. She was simply defending her traditional rights and territories against the illegal aggression of Bingham. She asked for her sons and brother to be released, and for the right to live and operate by sea and land, as her family had for generations. Elizabeth was captivated. She saw in Grace a reflection of herself, a powerful, intelligent leader who commanded respect. She agreed to Grace's terms. She ordered Bingham to release Grace's family, restore her lands, and allow her to continue her maintenance by sea and land, a clever euphemism for her maritime trade and taxation. In return, Grace agreed to use her fleet to defend the Queen's interests against foreign enemies. Like the Spanish, Grace O'Malley returned to Ireland victorious. She had faced down an empire and won, not with cannons, but with courage, wit, and an unbreakable will. She had walked into the lion's den and walked out with a royal decree. Her legend has echoed through the centuries. She is Ireland's sea rebel, the queen who bent no knee. She wasn't just a product of her time. She was ahead of it. She lived free in an age when women weren't supposed to command fleets, lead armies, or negotiate with queens. She proved that power isn't about titles or crowns bestowed by others, but about the strength you forge for yourself. Her story reminds us that even when the odds are impossible, one person's defiance can change the course of history. Thank you so much for watching. If you were inspired by the story of Grace O'Malley, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of incredible figures from history. We'll see you in the next video.